joining us now is lawyer Liborous Oshoma. Liborous, it's good to have you join us right now. I wonder what you make of all of the drama and the permutation and even the trends as a fallout of the Omoyele Sowore's case the way it is right now. Are we moving forward, or these are the teething problems of democracy?
Good morning, and thank you, Mike. If at this stage we are still talking about teething problems of democracy, it is very unfortunate and a sad development. We ought to have moved far beyond this stage. These are not teething problems of democracy. Rather, what we see is that democracy is taking a sharp decline in this climb. I had also read a statement credited to the very female senior advocate of Nigeria when she said that 50 years ago, when she was called to the bar, that it was a sacrilege for anybody to think of disobeying court order, that court orders were never disobeyed. But if 50 years after, we have court orders being disobeyed with impunity, and then the Attorney General of the Federation is talking about obeying the rule of law, and then the same Attorney General in another breath, at a different fora, talking about the rule of law, talking about national security superseding the rule of law, when actually it is the rule of law that defines what should be national security. And then I can't call them teething problems. I would rather say that democracy is taking a decline.
And the presidency has said in the fallout now to what happened last week that the SSS doesn't need its permission to carry out actions, including the Sowore saga. What do you make of that?
I agree that the SSS does not need the permission of the presidency to carry out its duties and responsibilities. But a situation where the body language, the government, including Mr. President himself, had alluded to the fact that why they will not obey court order. If you remember, in the very first press media interaction that the president had, and he was asked point blank why he refused to release El Zazaki, Sambo Dansuki, and he said, "You want me to release a man who caused the death of so many?" At that point, it was obvious that the president was not interested in obeying court orders, and so we've seen that trend. And like they say in local parlance, when a father sends a son to steal, the son will pull down the door. And so with the actions and inactions of the DSS so far, this could not be that they were not obeying orders, because there is a court order, and if the DSS point blank would refuse to obey court order, it means that they are not acting alone, because we're not talking about just acting within the confines of their powers here.
All right.
If you have submitted to the jurisdiction of the court, if you have submitted to the jurisdiction of the court, that's an arm of government.
Okay.
You should also allow them to deal with the matter decisively. But
all right.
the moment you now begin to act differently, then there is,
then we have a problem. Then we have a challenge that Nigeria has not really fared well. But now that we are in democracy, are we doing any better when it comes to inching closer to understanding the etiquettes and the standards and benchmarks of running a system?
Thank you once again, Mike. Like a friend and a colleague described it, the militaries don't see friends. They don't, what the military sees are friends or foe. And once they identify you as a foe, they take steps to neutralize you. And so that's the hangover that we've had, right from when our democracy was truncated, in the First Republic. And so from that time till now, we've seen a decline in respect for human rights. And so even some of the steps that the military couldn't take, if you remember, some people who were alleged to be coup plotters, they were tried by a military court, and pronouncements were made and such orders were obeyed. But even under the military, I cannot remember, such brazen attack, on a court, under the military. We saw it before in Ekiti with Governor Ayo Fayose of the PDP, And we're also seeing it now, at the national level with the invasion of the court by the DSS, even though they have tried to deny sin. And we've seen, we've also heard that the DSS had gone to apologize to the judge. We also see the Minister of Justice visiting the the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, and also, by implication, by extension, apologizing for what happened. And this is in spite of the fact that they had denied it variously. And so if these things didn't happen, why apologizing for it? And so when you look at it, when you juxtapose our democracy and our knack for disobedience to court orders, you juxtapose it with the military rule, you would say truly we cannot call what we have a democratic dispensation.
All right. Let me quickly ask Liborous Oshoma about now the next moves or the likely happenings now in this saga. What do you think would happen ahead or the next adjourned dates now in the Sowore trial?
It's unfortunate, frankly. The Administration of Criminal Justice Act has, admonished the court or had provided that for matters such as this, especially if the state is truly interested in prosecuting the matter, one would have expected that this matter would be, hard on a day-to-day basis. But with the action of the DSS that day in court, it is obvious why the judge had to adjourn, the matter to February. But unfortunately, like I asked rhetorically, what would be the essence of a judge granting an order when he or she knows fully well that such orders will not be obeyed? What would be the essence of standing trial in a matter when you know that even the court, even if you are discharged and acquitted, that the government might likely not obey such order, and that they might come up with another excuse that, fresh facts just emerge and that, they have reasons to rearrest you. So what the message we're gradually sending to the world is that we do not obey our orders. And so this portends grave danger for our society and for democracy.
All right.
You see this all leading to, now Mr. Malame has also spoken out on this issue, talking about investigations underway in last week's saga. What could play out?
It's not about what could play out, but what should the government do. I think beyond paying visits and using the opportunity to discuss the issue that played out, the government should also be decisive, just like the vice president, when he was acting president, was decisive in the case of Lawal Daura, when the DSS invaded the National Assembly. What the DSS has done in the case of invasion of the court on that day is worse than what happened with the invasion of the National Assembly. And so I would not want to see a situation where we set up committees upon committees and reports will be deliberated and nothing would be done. I want the government to be decisive on this, and that it's the only way that, that can douse tension, and that's the only way that the government can right the wrong and the desecration that was carried out on that Friday. Because by extension, even though the presidency had said that the DSS is not answerable or do not take instruction from them, but they also would agree that what the action that was carried out that day, if it was not orchestrated or masterminded by them, that it was a sad point in our democratic practice. And so to assuage the fears of people, it's also very, very necessary that government should take steps and immediately ease the DG DSS of his appointment and to serve as a deterrent to others to learn to obey lawful and civil instructions for in a democratic dispensation, because we are not in the military.
All right, Liborous, a lot of comments we have heard from some people have pointed out to the fact that the sitting vice president is Professor Shibajo, is a professor of law. And when it comes to understanding of the implication of some of these things, he stands in the best position to advise the presidency. And they are saying either he is not in the position to, he's not advising well, or maybe they're not taking his advice when it comes to approaches to these issues.
I would want to choose your latter option, to say that, because if you remember, Obasanjo once appointed special advisors and told them that it's not compulsory that he would take heed to the advice. And at that point, for me, I said, what's the essence of being an advisor? And so we have all seen also with the body language of this government that they are not one that would want to follow advice. Even though some people high up there who ordinarily should be advising the government would choose, to pass the buck at the table of the president by concluding that the president means well, even though laws are violated with impunity. We have also had a situation where the same Attorney General of the Federation, like I said earlier on, had admitted that the rule of law, the national security should supersede the rule of law, even though it is the rule of law that should define national security. So to that extent, I would want to believe that, these people would rather not listen to advice, whether coming from the vice president or, anybody for that matter. We saw what happened when the vice president acted. He didn't wait for anybody to advise him. He took decisive steps. And so that precedent had already been set. And that was not even in the hallowed chambers of the National Assembly, but within the precincts of the National Assembly. But this that happened on Friday before Justice Ojukwu court was in the hallowed chambers of the National Assembly. And so to that extent, I think that even the government does not need to wait for the vice president to advise them. They should follow the precedent that the vice president has set before them.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Liborous Oshoma, for your insight into all of this.